Buena Park is in the building. Buena Park? What's the deal? Nothing but the homies out there. Nothing but the homies. What's up with the homies?
Who poppin'? We poppin'.
What's up, everybody? You're tuned into the show where anything goes. I'm your host, Mark Vargas, and you're tuned into the Center Lock Show. And today, man, we got mixed martial artist, fighter, boxer, street fighter, Muay Thai artist, and everything you can think of, roll it up, throw it in a bunch, and you're going to describe today's guest. We got my boy, my brother, Miguel Miklo Valtierra.
That's right.
Hey, bro,
what up,
man.
everybody?
Hey, we finally got you on the podcast. I know we were talking a little bit before, but hey, we got you on. You got a lot going on this month, man. I know we got your so what are you actually fighting in? I know you fight kind of different styles throughout, you're kind of coming up in the MMA world. What exactly will this bout be on the upcoming 21st?
So the 21st is going to be in Los Angeles in the Fit Expo, actually, when they have, a lot of like fitness brands, with powerlifting, bodybuilding, supplement brands, sports, they also have grappling tournaments there too. But this one is going to be a Muay Thai competition in Los Angeles. And with this, it's going to be me and a couple of my teammates are going to be fighting there. This is all about like uprising, fighters to begin their career in Muay Thai or kickboxing or whatever they go to, the MMA world and all that stuff. So with this fight going on, this is going to be just as a 2-round fight, depending on how good it is. It could go to the 3rd round, sudden victory. But this is just going to be basically focusing on basically my Muay Thai career, because that's what I do now. I do a striking for Muay Thai. And then I also do grappling as well. I do wrestling, here and there. And for this one, it's just going to be straight just Muay Thai only.
Hell yeah, man. I know I saw one of your last, couple fights. We were down with there, up in Riverside, seeing how everything was going down, and man, you were getting after it. So, everybody definitely, we gotta, promote everybody getting out on the 21st, because I mean, you're a hell of a fighter, bro. You bring it, and it's cool to see, somebody you grew up with, and everybody takes their own little path. And I got a couple friends in jiu-jitsu, I got a couple friends in boxing, and ain't nothing like that MMA, man. Ain't nothing like seeing punches thrown, kicks thrown. What got you into that? What was some of your inspiration for that?
I mean, I've been athletic my whole life. I played football. I did all kind of sports, man. I was just athletic my whole life, and what got me into it is I had a couple friends. I used to go to this private gym that I go to. I still go to this day. It's called Raw Performance in Los Alamitos. Me and my buddies were always talking about, what can we do? Like, oh man, I wish I could got into boxing or kickboxing, Muay Thai, any of the stuff like that. So we always talk about it, with the highlights with Canelo, UFC, or the one championships in Japan or Bellator and all that stuff. We all look at all that stuff while we're working out and everything. We're watching on our friend's phone, and a lot of us talk about man, imagine us doing that, and or us, training that kind of lifestyle. And then I was like, told myself, I was like, yeah, imagine doing that. Let's see, time for change. So I looked up local Muay Thai gyms nearby, because when I did my research into getting into the MMA world, it's not just that you got to have boxing, you got to have the whole package. You know what I mean? You got to have the whole package. You can't just be like a one-sided fighter, like you're a boxer or you're into, you got to have the whole package. So I looked up Muay Thai. That's a lot of people told me, if you want to get into that stuff, you got to have the striking, got to have the grappling. But if you want to have a good striking, get into Muay Thai. So you learn the art of 8 limbs, 2 fists, 2 elbows, 2 knees, and 2 feet. And I did my research, and I stumbled upon a gym in Anaheim called Master Toddley's, and I read the reviews. It's pretty good. So I went to go check them out one time after when I was lifting with my friends in the private gym. I was like, you know what, I got time. Let's go check it out. See what's the hype about. So I went over there. Talked to he's my best friend now and best teammate, Leo. I ran into him. He told me about the benefits, like the workouts, the fitness, you know, everything. And I told them, I was like, you know, I will, if I train with you guys, will I fight with you guys? And they're like, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like we'll set you up, you know, we'll do what we can, you know, like all that stuff, you know. And then from there, it's just history. I hit it off, you know. I had the body for it, you know.
Yeah.
Just it was a different type of training. At first, a couple of weeks, I would say it was the hardest because you know it's all about conditioning, you know, cardio, the running, and everything. So everything was just completely different from there. I was just like, wow, this is the real deal. This is where you know, like people, you know, get down. This is what matters. You know, I mean, a lot of people underestimate that. You're like, oh, you know, fighters we're blessed with it. I was like, not really, man. It's all about that cardio, man. You gotta get that cardio in, you know. Yeah. So after the first 2 weeks, I told the guy, I was like, yeah, I'm not used to cardio, but you know, eventually I got used to it, and I started training almost every day if I possibly can, and I got everything was just, you know, history. Like I said, you know, a lot of my teammates are Hispanic, and you know, the vibe was there, and they push me every day, and they push me to be a better version of myself every day. So you know, my gym, you know, Master Tully's in Anaheim, honestly, it's probably like one of the best gyms for Muay Thai. Yeah, they push me all the time. I mean, my coach too, Coach John, he trains there, and he coaches one in Pomona too. But you know, yeah, it's honestly part of one of the best decisions I made to train there, because you know, a lot of, you know, these gyms now with Muay Thai, wrestling, or kickboxing, or it's just boxing in general, they're expensive. You know, like if you want to be trained by a really good, you know, coach, that's why I did my review. You know, like, oh, what's his background, what's his stuff, and he's like, he's been trained in Thailand. You know, he's trained by one of the best people in Thailand for Muay Thai, and after that, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna roll with you. I'm gonna be, you know, under your wing, and let's do it. You know, like, and then after that, you know, when I was training, when you were there, my first fight, you know, I mean, it was under his wing. Everything I know was from that guy. You know, it was my first one. I made a lot of rookie mistakes, and other than that, I mean, it fired me up. You know, like, oh man, this is fun. You know what I mean? Like, yo, this is the adrenaline, the everything. I was like, all right, I do see myself doing this now. You know, like, you know, let's go forward. You know, let's make a legacy, make history. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, when we pulled up in Riverside, I know we saw each other, like, man, what's up? You know, we caught up and all that. And then you can see, I mean, definitely, bro, you had a fire lit under you. You know, I mean, you kind of have to. I mean, it's one of those sports that if you don't, man, you can get literally injured, you know, physically, bad, you know. Yeah. So I mean, you can see that you have that dog in you, and you know that it's you see it on TV. I mean, I think a lot of people got to realize how maybe now, you know, people who are fans of the MMA game, you know, or MMA scene, you know how gruesome it is, you know how real it can get, you know. You know, and I think during COVID, I mean, I don't know if you were watching some of those fights, you know, where there were no fans in the stands.
And you could, definitely. I watched, you know, you learn what you see, you know what I mean? Exactly. That's why I watched them, you know.
And you could hear the punches or the kicks connect. Yeah. And I think a lot of people had their eyes, you know, like that was when I saw you, man. I was the first time, like, up close and personal, seeing, you know, boxing, you know, everything was going, you know, mixed around. And I mean, seeing people get slept, like that's a insane, you know, thing just to see right there. So like the transition to getting punched, you know, punched, kicked, whatever it is, getting hurt, you know, I come from the football world, you know, I understand some pain, you know, there's going to be some, you know, some bruises here and there, some, you know, minor to major injuries, depending on what happens. But I mean, in the fight game, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be, how did you transition into that? Did football help you, or is that something that you just had to learn all over again when you got into the you know, beginning of your fight career?
Oh, so I mean, I know I deal with a couple of injuries, you know, with football and all the sports that I've done, you know, in the past. I have done with injuries, and I would say that football, it was the most that helped me for injuries, because, you know, football, I mean, I love football to this day. I still watch it to this day. It's a really hard sport. It's really contact. You know, you're gonna get hit. You know, you're gonna get hurt. You know, all that stuff. But you know, like, hey, you gotta tough it out. You know, tough it out. You know, you gotta get back up. You know, just, you know, tough it out. Injuries are gonna happen. Yeah. It happens to everybody. It happens to all the greats and all that stuff. But I mean, like, with that fight I had at Riverside back in October, I didn't suffer any injuries. You know, thank God. You know, so I didn't suffer any injuries. I mean, I was bruised up. You know, I was bruised up, and if I would have to say that, like if I was to get injured with my next one, um, I would have to, go by the book what my coach tells me, I mean, like recover, try not to be as, don't put any pressure on what you're doing, or, like, be, resting alive, but all that stuff. But, I mean, the basic stuff, all these pro fighters do, I mean, like, that's why I'll, look forward into, eventually I'm going to get, I mean, I'm going to get injured
Yeah.
eventually, but, I'm not going to pray, oh man, it's not going to happen, but it is going to happen, I mean, because and like I said, all the greats go through it. So I mean, like if I had to say, if I got injured in the last one, it'll be the basic stuff like rest. Like hey, you gotta ice it. You can, if anything, I'll probably have to go to the doctor and get checked out. Go to the chiropractor. All that stuff, bro.
So I mean, you just said a interesting thing right there. I mean, listen to your coach.
Uh-huh.
You got it to a point, put so much trust into him. Like you said, you see all these fights, and you go to the corner. There's times where a coach, trainer has to throw that white flag. You know what I mean, or
Yeah,
is
yeah,
being
yeah.
honest with you. How important, you just speaking to maybe some people watching this right now that are feeling like, I want to get into the fight game, or, what, I'm in the fight game, but I don't necessarily know where to go for my next step, or, you know what I mean? How important is it to have your trust in a coach, or to find a coach that you can really trust?
Yeah. So that one, so when I first met Coach John, really cool guy. We hit it off. The vibe was there. I told him my background. Like hey, I'm athletic. I used to lift a lot. And, I played sports in high school. And all that stuff. And then he said, yeah, you have the body for your fit. So I would say that the like most important is like for your coach to let you know what kind of person you are. What is your weakness? What is your strengths? All this that. Like I tell Coach John all the time, if I have a problem with something, if I don't feel right about something, I communicate with him. And sometimes I do kind of bug him, I feel like, but it's his job to, to understand like, hey, this song comes up from a fighter, he doesn't feel like this is right. And so it's very important to me to, ask him questions, like, hey, how this doesn't feel right, or how's this look? How's this look? Or what can I do to make this better? And all that stuff. So it's really important if you're planning to get into like to any new upcoming or uprising fight, to make sure their coach and them are very connected, like hey, if because the coaches see what's in it, what they see how you are in the ring, they see how you are in the octagon, they see how you are in the mat, they see. And if you are not listening to what he has taught you, and not listening, telling you, hey, do this, do that, or when you go back in your corner, tells you, you gotta throw this, you gotta throw that, you gotta do this, you're uptight too much, breathe, you're not throwing anything, you got to listen, because
Yeah.
they see everything. They're the one who who's been through it all. So when I went to my corner, my boy Danny, he was actually there. He sees everything.
Yeah.
He sees everything, and he was telling me like, you gotta do this, you gotta throw that left hook, you gotta do that freaking cross, and be first. Don't let him come to you. You go forward. So I put him at, like put it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And then once we came to the third round, he was like, okay, keep doing that, keep doing it. You see how he's backing up? You keep doing it, you keep doing it. You see how you put on the pressure? You see it? I was like, yeah, no, now I do see it. So okay, now keep doing it, okay? And then he tells me, you're uptight too much. You're already tired. You're tight. You're not letting your body breathe. And so I was like, stay loose, but keep your guard up, but stay loose. And then so I listened to that, and then thank God I finished through the third round, because I would say that fight, the last fight I had in October, was probably one of my toughest. I mean, it was my first, but it was one of my toughest because, I mean, I was going against a guy that was experienced. Like, he's
Yeah.
been in the cage. He's been in the ring. He's been doing it for a long time. And I got no hate against him. He was a really good fighter. Honestly, he was. But if I had to say, was that the toughest? From so far, it is my toughest, because, it went to the point where it went to the distance to a draw,
Yeah.
And for the first one, my coach, and my teammates were like telling me, when I called my coach, like, hey, everything was good. I listened to Danny, everything, yada yada yada. And then he was like, you did good, man. And like, hey, I mean, for your first one, not a lot of people get a draw in the first one. Sometimes they lose, or sometimes, I mean, they win. So hey, you should be proud, man. You got a draw. I mean, maybe you wanted to win, but it's how the fight game is, man. You don't get what you put in, but I mean, it's you overcome, you learn that shit, and you learn, move forward from that.
Yeah,
So that's why I
definitely.
say it's important.
Yeah, no, I mean, we were there, I was talking to the judges, and I mean, it was a good fight. I mean, like I
Hmm.
said, you guys went after it. I mean, it was from beginning to end. I mean, I think you kind of started a little slow. You kind of
Yeah.
caught your rhythm mid fight, and then you can see like where your punches were starting to connect. Some of your kicks were starting to connect, and
Hmm.
almost as if you were reading the fighter, easier, or maybe you got caught up and you were able to see it, and you were kind of reading his next move before he even did
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
um how does that feel? I mean, because I'm not in the fight game, and that's something I've
Uh-huh.
always wondered, like when you're going at it, and you got, all right, we got a round, or we're coach is saying I'm down a round, or whatever it is, like how how do you find that inner dog in you? Like, and like I compare it to football. I need a, playing a game, we need a touchdown at the end of the game. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
something I can relate to. I know that what I got to do, I'm gonna give it my best, and I might give more than what I could, because there ain't no other option. But at the
Hmm.
same time, I'm gonna listen to what my coach is calling. I can't go too far out, get too, I don't know, sloppy with it, or get too what's the word, out of my rhythm. Like, you
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
go as far as you could without making minor mistakes that you usually won't. And I mean, that's one thing. Like, is that kind of the same thing where you're trying to, maybe you're trying to score more points in this round, or you're trying to get a knockout? Like, is it
Hmm.
something that you have to like really focus on without losing some of your basics, or is it just all out, go until the
Yeah.
final bell?
Uh-huh. So the way it is, I mean, as my coach and my teammates told me, for like amateurs or professionals. For amateurs, it's a different pace than professionals. The amateurs is more faster, the faster and the shorter rounds. And for professionals, they're longer and the longer rounds. So, and the pace is just pacing on the professionals. For amateurs, it's just all quick. Like, who's first, who's second, who's last. You know what I mean? Like, always finish strong. Like like my coach told me that my next one's gonna happen. He's like, in the first 30 seconds, set the pace, put on the pressure, throw, I mean, like anything, like get him mixed, like, make him mix up, make him think. So I was like, okay. And then the second round, it's obviously, okay, you got your pace, you got your rhythm, then you mix it up. Third round is when you go all out, try to go all out. Third round is, it's, if you don't go all out, you're gonna lose. So for this one, to find my inner, like, okay, like I need to wake up, I think I'm losing, all that stuff. So back in Riverside, first round, I would have to say Chris was winning. That's the Chris Lee. That was the guy I was going against. He was winning. And he actually put on the pressure. So I started off a bit slow because he was just coming at me with everything. So after the first round, my teammates, like, hey, don't worry. He's gonna get tired. Now you come in the second round, like, now you put on the pressure. I was like, all right, now I know what to do. So on second round, that's when I found my inner dog. I was like, okay, he's gonna want to knock me out, so I'm gonna try to knock this guy out now. So that fight, we came in to knock each other our heads off. Like, we didn't come in like all technique-ish a little bit, and even though I should have, but we all came in like like we're not gonna. This is gonna be a long night for us because we're gonna come in here like we're gonna try to rip each other's head off. So second round, I told myself, like, okay, if I gotta, like, set the tone now. This is gonna be my round because first round he was winning.
Yeah.
I told myself, oh, he's winning. I mean, I'm not gonna, like, let him win this round. This round's gonna be mine. And then third round, okay, I'm just go all out, release every energy I can. So the second round is the second round. I let everything out. I guess what motivates me to release all of that is to let myself think, like, hey, you're losing. Like, hey, he's winning, he's doing this, he's doing better than this. I'm like, no, I can do better. I'm gonna, like, come back. Like, I'm gonna be the one who's gonna make a statement. No, that's gonna be me. So that's why in the second round, I let him know, like, hey, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna try and knock your head off. That's why I threw everything that I can. So the third round, I come in, we were both gassed at the point of the third round, because we were trying to, like I said, we're aiming for our head. We weren't aiming for, like anything else besides, trying to knock each other out. So third round, we were just like, we're going to swing to the freaking finish. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to swing to the freaking finish and see who comes out on top. So that's why I feel like with the fight that I had in October, that was part of like the one, like I said, the toughest. And that showed, like, hey, I might not, be the most experienced, but will I put on a show for you guys? I mean, I'll entertain you guys as much as possible. Yes, I would. Like, I'm not going to be the one that's going to be, like, say like, oh, he's going to take all the punishment and this is going to be unfair. No, I'm going to, release the dog out of me, show everybody like, hey, I can still bang too. Even though I might not be experienced as the other guy, hey, I can still fight. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. I mean, I wish I could, show everybody or put everybody, because you could watch it on film.
Yeah.
But if you were there in person, I mean, there were a lot of people there, you would be able to see like the fight transition. Like you said, that first round, honestly, like I think, maybe you lost the first round, whatever, right? Whatever. It's a fight, you lose a quarter, right?
Yeah.
That second round, you came back and you won that, no question. That third round, like you said, you guys were gassed, but you guys were throwing. You guys, like, that's what made it so hard, I think, for the judges to judge, was because you guys were just leaving it all out on the mat. You guys were just leaving it all out within that square. There was I feel like there was blood flying, sweat flying. I mean,
yeah, man,
you could feel everything. Every time a punch kick was landing, you could feel that, like, oh, like you were kind of like jolting back watching it, But like another thing, like within the fight game, how do you always hear it? Oh, this fighter has a good jaw, or this fighter has a glass jaw. How do you describe like the jaw? Do you think is it necessarily like really a strong jaw, or is it more of like your will to stay up? Is it more of that, like, or is this just something that you can train? Because I mean, you're not really taking face shots, you know what I mean, during practice. So how do you necessarily work on your jaw?
So I actually had a conversation with one of my teammates about that. We were talking about some fighter that, this kid, got knocked down 3 times and got right back up. This kid has a strong jaw. So in my head, you can't really train your jaw, I would necessarily say, because anybody can get knocked out. Yeah. Anybody can. You just gotta hit that right spot. Like he can get knocked out. I mean, because we're all human. No one's the freaking machine. No one's been made in a factory, and everyone thinks they have, like, oh, that guy's made in a factory or made in an assembly line, something like that. No, he's human. He can get knocked out. Don't think that he can get knocked out. He can. So, with that being said, I wouldn't say necessarily we train everything. It's just that we do, when we train, my coach just told me this, is like, get used to having the headgear on, So we're like, why? I mean, sure, we, get used to it, not have it on, so we could able to take hits. The thing is like, coach is like, well, the thing is that if you don't get used to having the headgear, and then when you fight your professional without the headgear, you're going to get knocked out quick, because you didn't get, you didn't train your head to get, hit hard. So that's why people say, like, when people throw that right hand or that left hook or just any specific punch that the fighter throws, they get knocked out. Like, oh, they get stumbled or anything like that, because they're not trained, with the headgear on. And my coach was right, because I have a couple of teammates. I mean, I would say a couple of my teammates did stun me. Like, oh crap, like you actually lost balance. And so once I put on the headgear and everything, I would have to say that has, helped me to, be able to take my punches more. So when I took it off after like a couple of weeks with it on, get used to it, like you're going to get hit hard eventually. So when I have it on, I tell my teammates, like, hey, hit me, hard as you can, because I have the headgear on. Don't worry, I'm going to take it like a G, whatever. If I get knocked out, I get knocked out. So when I started training with the headgear, it did help me a lot, because I was able to take them. So when I took them off, it felt like, like, oh, this is normal to me. Like, now this is like, I could get used to it without the headgear. But the thing is like, like my coach said, anybody can get knocked out. Anybody can get hit, in the jaw and get knocked out. So like, I would say, like, not necessarily anybody can train their jaw now these days. I mean, because if anything, the jaw is more covered up than the equilibrium or the side of the head or your front forehead. You know what I mean? Because if you hit the jaw, I mean, like, it's a, I would say you set it up. You're aiming for that one. It's, but like with me, I would have to say, like, when I was reviewing my last fight, reviewing my last one in Riverside, I remember I threw an overhand on Chris. On Chris, an overhand on his. It looked like his equilibrium. I mean, he almost lost balance. You know, so it made me think, okay, you can honestly knock out anybody. You just got to hit the right spot. It doesn't mean you have to hit the jaw. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, I mean, like, it's all about, you know, your willpower at the same time, because, you know, we're all gonna get knocked down, but it's gonna, you know, it all determines, you know, hey, you want to get back up? You know, I mean, it's time for to get back up. You know, don't stay down. You know, and that's when, you know, when a lot of fighters now, when they get knocked down, they look to the corner and you're like, hey, what do I do? You know, get back up, man. I mean, what are you doing? You're in the sport for a reason, man. You know, you get back up. You know, if you get knocked down, you know, 7 times, get back up 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and another little thing I want to touch on. I mean, you always hear in the boxing, right? You always hear you got that the Mexican fighting, like the Mexican fighting style, right? It's something that, you know, you see that they're in there, they're dog. You know what I mean? Every time you watch, you know, I don't even know how to say it, like just kind of more of a two Mexican fighters, or you got, you know, a certain style that falls in the Mexican way, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that you keep with you, like when you're going within the fights? Like, I mean, because they're basically saying like that those dudes are just, you know, warriors. You know what I mean? Every time it's said as a compliment, you know, like you're gonna, like, for a fan watching, you're gonna love this fighter because he's fighting the Mexican way. You know, is that something that you carry with you? Do you think you have that, or is that something you don't really pay attention? You just kind of, it's in the back somewhere.
I mean, I'm very prideful of what I am. You know, I am a very proud Mexican, and like I said, you know, like, oh, he is the Mexican fighter away. So, with that being said, I mean, when I do Muay Thai, it's the art of, you know, Thailand style. So, I do bring that, you know, like, how can I say, that energy of the Mexican fighter to that form. So, because Thailand or Muay Thai is Thailand boxing. It's like boxing, but, you know, with, you know, Thailand form, you know. So with that being said, you know, a lot of people saying like, oh, boxing, a lot of boxers are Mexican. I was like, well, you'd be surprised how many Mexicans are actually Muay Thai fighters. You'd be surprised. There is a lot. And so when you told me that question, like, do I bring that style or bring that pride to your fight form? Yeah, I honestly do. I mean, I carry, you know, like, with me, because, you know, when my legs start to give out with all the kicks I do, the knees, you know, then I'm gonna come out like the Mexican fighter. I'm gonna start, you know, like, throwing these punches at you, like, you know, like if I was a boxer for a WBC or anything like that. So that's why I do carry with me. You know, when I need to hit that extra gear, it's like, all right, you know, time to go the Mexican way. Just go straight, you know, punching, you know, straight, just throwing everything. Okay, the last 30 seconds, just straight hit everything. So I do carry that. Honestly, I do.
Hell yeah, man. That got me pumped up right there, you know? Getting ready to, you know, hit the ring right now. Before this first half of the episode ends, I got 2 questions for you, all right?
Yeah.
And then we'll transition. You'll take a break and then transition to some UFC 274 and the future upcoming fights. And we'll go ahead and recap the Canelo fight. But the questions I got for you, man, is this right here. What is the first question, right? The first question. Walkout, do you know, whatever it is, what's your walkout song?
My walkout song? Oh boy, man. Man, that's like $1 million question right there, man. Because I mean, that was very difficult. Because I mean, I have a lot I want to choose, like a lot. Because I mean, like I said, I am very prideful of, you know, my background. You know, my mom's family, my dad's family. I'm very prideful of what they come from, and dang, we were just talking about this with my teammates. You know, what would be your good walkout song? What would be a good one? So, if I will have to say, I told them top 2 would be for me. A top 2 would be number 1. It would have to be Guadalajara by Vicente Fernandez, or 2, Viva Mexico. Just a natural, like, a mariachi song that sings it. That would be number 2. That would be my top 2. Those ones, because my dad's side of the family, they come from Jalisco, Guadalajara, and my mom's side, they came from Durango, Mexico. So I I mean, like I said, like there's so many choices I would love to choose from if if it had to be a walkout song, but those are my number two.
Okay, for sure. That's I'll take them, and that was a good answers. You know. And then so my last question before we take our break, give me. See, I was gonna say a Mount Rushmore, but you know it's tough to do. You know, give me we'll say a Mount Rushmore. Any fighters, you know, boxing, MMA, UFC, your Mount Rushmore of the fight game.
Man, like the highest, like the hardest.
Yeah, top four. You pick your four best. You know, it could be a boxer, it could be a Muay Thai artist, could be a UFC fighter. You know, belt.
My favorite. Dang.
Top four.
My top four. That's good. I mean, so I would have to say, my number one. No, actually, no. I'll go from bottom, from number four. Number four, I would go with. He's a Muay Thai guy. He's a Muay Thai guy. His name is Tang. He fights in one championship Japan. I love his form. He's so aggressive. I mean, if you look the guy up, he's a freaking monster. So you know he comes in with the attitude like he's gonna come and try and knock you out.
Yeah. Number
three, my favorite. I will have to say one of my favorite grapplers. I would have to say he's in the UFC. I have a lot of favorite grapplers in the UFC, but if anything, I will have to say it will be Cyril Gane. He's fighting pretty soon. Cyril Gane, he's from France, because he comes from my kind of background, very athletic. He started mixed martial arts at the age of 24, so it makes me think, like, like if this guy can make it, I can make it. This guy's just been athletic his whole life. I like the guy because he's a big guy. He's a heavyweight. He's 275 pounds, and he moves like he's 165 pounds, which is very impressive, like kind of scary. Like, holy crap, for a big guy to move like that, like a football player. If a football player can run a 40 like a freaking running back, that's pretty scary. Like that's very athletic. So that would be my third one. Number two, obviously, it's gonna be Canelo. That's my number two guy, Canelo. I like his style. And then the number one. It's always been tough for having my number one. My number one, I will have to say my number one is Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno is my number one favorite fighter to watch. Not only because he's a jiu-jitsu guy or because he has a Muay Thai background, but I just love his motivation. It's what catches me, like he knows that when hey, I messed up, he got the best of me, any of that. Coming from his background too, how he was an Ultimate Fighter contestant. And for those of people who don't know what that is, it's a show they choose the best fighters all over the world. They come to this show and then they all have to fight for one contract. Brandon Moreno was on that show, and he was actually selected as ranked the lowest fighter on that show. And when I was watching the highlights of how he came, he was ranked the lowest, and he lost his fight. Because the rules is when you fight in that show, if you lose, you're out of the competition. The other guy advances to get closer to that contract. Brandon Moreno lost. He lost, and and then he had two fights in the UFC, and he lost, and he got cut. The UFC cut him, and he was fighting in a B league, and he came back, and he did everything he needed to do. He's like, okay, I have the experience now. I know what to do. Now I know this is the real deal. And he even said it, I did my best, but I have to say, they were just more experienced than me. Like what I would say with my opponent, Chris, he was more experienced than me. So he already knew what the mentality it has to come in with. He's more experienced than me. For Brandon Moreno, I would have to say that he's very preserved. He waits till, hey, be patient. It's going to happen. Don't worry. That's why he has that famous line that I use it sometimes myself. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, or maybe not next month or year, I will be champion one day. And he uphold that promise. And that's the kind of promise I hold myself, to show my mom, my dad, my son too, hey, don't worry, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not a couple of years from now. Hey, I'm gonna make it, like I'm gonna, make it somewhere. Maybe not in the UFC, maybe in the Japan League or the Bellator, or maybe in a B League. But hey, I will be champion one day. So I will have to say Brandon Moreno is my number one.
Hell yeah, man. That's a solid 4 right there. You got a little bit of different styles, different leagues, different organizations or promotions. I mean, it's a solid 4 right there. But we're gonna take a quick break, and like I said, when we come back, we're gonna talk UFC 274. Everything that went on, the knockouts, the punches, the submissions, and what's the aftermath of that? What's gonna come? And then we're also gonna talk about Canelo coming up short Saturday night. So when we come back, we got all that for you.
All right, sounds good, brother. All right.
Use promo code Sideline10 to receive 10% off all of your graphic design needs, logos, pictures, business cards, anything that you need. Contact Matthew Cifuentes at Matt2Siffy. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We're still here with our boy Miguel. We just got done talking Muay Thai. We just got done talking how to build your jaw up, and we just also talked about his Mount Rushmore of the fight game. But we had a pretty busy weekend this past weekend. If you're a fan of the fight game, I mean, I think you got to see a lot of different things, and maybe your favorite fighters didn't win, or maybe your favorite fighters did win, or maybe you didn't have any favorite fighters fighting, but you saw some great fights. We'll start off with, I think the biggest, probably, I don't know if it's the biggest news of the weekend, but maybe when it comes to somebody's career, I think when you're talking about a certain ranking, a certain point in somebody's career, Canelo, man, it's tough. Look, so I'm on the team as, look, I love Canelo. I understand what he's doing. He's going up to fight a light heavyweight dude. You know what I mean? Like, that's people who aren't talking about that are just haters, don't really aren't really paying attention or don't really know what's really going on. I mean, dude went up, I want to say 3 or 4 weight classes, right? Just to get to light heavyweight. And you're not just fighting a scrub either. You're fighting a champion, somebody who is considered one of the best in that weight class.
Yeah.
And it's just from watching the fight, it's one of those things. You're going to run into somebody bigger. You're going to run into somebody stronger. You're going to run into somebody, maybe not faster, but just, if you watch most Canelo fights, if you're somebody that can say they've watched almost all his fights, you know his strategy. Canelo goes in there, Canelo takes hits, Canelo takes, early on, he goes in, it's a battle. And every time you see a fight, they're like, oh, Canelo started off slow. He's getting beat. That's his kind of recipe. He kind of fills out the fighter, kind of sees what they're doing. And you know what? Canelo's a strong puncher. Canelo's somebody who packs a punch. And I think it just was not effective. I don't think he's the power. I don't think it was as effective in the light heavyweight, because come those championship rounds, if it even gets there, most fighters are done when it comes to Canelo. They've taken everything Canelo has gotten, and that's why you see Canelo, knocking people out, breaking people's, orbital, like that's what Canelo's known for. But when you get put with somebody who's a light heavyweight, who's probably 30 pounds heavier, not cutting, when they're outside of training mode, regular than Canelo, like that's a big difference, especially in the fight game. And that's what I just think, now he can come back in, some of those lower weight classes, and people saying, oh, he's ducking Charlo or he's ducking Benavidez. Now he can fight those guys. And, now there's before this fight, you can't really make an argument for those fights. You can say that they're there, but you're Canelo, you know, you're fighting for belts, you know, you're doing something that most people haven't done. And now you can go fight those guys, and now they can hype it up. Oh, we're coming after Canelo. Canelo's on a downfall. You know what I mean? Now those fights make a little bit more sense. But now Canelo can sit back a little bit. Now let those fighters come to him, you know, and now he can just dominate maybe 1, 2, 3 different weight classes. But you know, it's one of those things I give him credit for trying to go up there, you know. Everybody wants to compare him to Mayweather, right? Oh, well, Mayweather didn't lose. Hey, Mayweather wasn't going up there, you know. Like, and I still think Mayweather's the GOAT, you know. Like, he put up that 50-0, like that's GOAT, you know. That's Tom Brady, that's LeBron, that's Kobe, you know. That's that right there, you know. But Mayweather wasn't doing that. Mayweather wasn't going up fighting dudes 30-40 pounds heavier than him, you know. He was the dude 20 pounds heavier, you know. Those smaller guys were coming up to him. And you know, it is what it is. He ended up winning all his fights, but it's just two different. I think you can't compare him anymore, you know?
No. I mean, he's not the face of boxing anymore, so all eyes are Canelo now. Even Mayweather has said it, you know. People saying, interview guy, actually someone from the, interviewing Mayweather was saying that, you know, like, oh, they're saying that they're taking out your face and making it to be Canelo, and he's like, look, Mayweather's like, no, it's true. I mean, like, he is the face of boxing. But, you know, like you said, you know, Mayweather didn't go up classes like Canelo does. That's what I mean, you know. Like, I will have to say, eventually, me as well, that, you know, when I started to figure out, you know, my style, what I'm best sitting at, you know, because, I mean, Canelo could have stayed like Mayweather and stayed at the weight classes and, you know, obviously became just a dominant force like Mayweather. But no, like Canelo felt comfortable, you know, like, okay, you know, I'm gonna go this class, you know, go in this class, go in this class. Not like Mayweather. Mayweather stayed at one level. But I mean, it's still GOAT status, like you said. I mean, like, hey, he took out the best in that weight class, you know, even uprising, you know, like even legends too. And like with this fight with Canelo, I mean, I will have to say he did more than what he can chew in this fight. I would have to say that. A lot of people do tell me, you know, like, why do you say that? I mean, like, isn't Canelo good? Yeah, he's good. Don't get me wrong. He is really good. I still have respect for Canelo. I mean, I love Canelo. He's one of my favorite fighters. But would I have to say that he get humble in this fight? Yeah, he did. Because, in my opinion, if you want to build a legacy in a different light, in different weight class, whether it's lower or higher, you got to start from the bottom again. You can't just, you know, like, oh, I'm going to go here and fight for the belt, because this actually has happened to one of my teammates that he was fighting, and then I think 2 fights, like long time ago. He wanted to fight for belt in a different weight class, and I was like, you gotta be careful, you know what I mean? Because people in a higher weight class, I will have to say, they are built for that weight class. You're built in this weight class. You got to get used to this weight class first before you even think about reaching to the top. So, you know, with Canelo, on the other hand, like I said, it's more than what he can chew, because Bivol was good. He was good. Look at his highlights. He is good. He's a straight, you know, like, brawler. He will brawl with you until the wheels fall off.
That's a horse, man. It's a horse.
Yeah, man. He has like a lot of horsepower. So with that being said, I mean, with Canelo and like going for that belt, I think he should have like waited for that chance to fight for that belt. But yeah, like I said, like, he's on top of the food chain. He could call out anything he wants. He could, I could fight this champ, I could fight this champ, I could fight this, you know, yada yada yada. He just wants all the belts. There's nothing wrong with that. Who doesn't want all the belts? But like I said, you can't expect to get every belt like that. Like, oh, I'm gonna fight this champ, and you know, let's go from there. I'm gonna go up a different weight class, and because in my opinion, it's like, you gotta think about, like, wait, you know, this guy is a champ for a reason. You're in the low weight class. You gotta build your way up. You know what I mean? Because Canelo did fight a light heavyweight before. He has, and he won. He won with a nasty body shot. So, in my, you know, with that being said, is like, Canelo needs to know that you can't just fight a champion in a different weight class because they already have the experience. They already know what to do. If they're the champion at a higher weight class, they're gonna fight someone smaller. They're gonna know what to do. Like, hey, you're smaller. Okay, this is gonna be easy. You're gonna go a weight class. You're gonna lose some speed, but you're probably gonna have power. But with light heavyweights, they train, at their speed at that weight, at that certain weight. Canelo has not doing that. That's why I feel like he got out. Like speed was not there for Canelo because Bivol was just countering quick before Canelo can even throw anything in that fight. So when I was watching it, I knew for a fact, like, oh, this is gonna be a long night for Canelo because Bivol was coming at him. Like he was coming back fast. Like he was pretty fast for a guy that size. And I was like, okay, Bivol is like a real, monster. Because I remember Canelo was trying to aim for a right overhand, and Bivol just came back with a jab, a hook, and a cross on Canelo. I'm just like, oh shit! I mean, this is gonna be.
It was like watching Canelo, but in reverse. It was the opposite.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like this, I think Canelo got a taste of his own medicine. Like, hey, this guy's a champ for a reason. You got to get used to. Like I said, he wasn't used to that weight class. Like I said, he was not used to it. It's like, like in football. When I was playing football in high school, I had a friend that he wanted to be a lineman. But I told him, you got to get used to going against big boys, man. You can't go against people who are like your size. You got to go against people like those people, like 6'4", 6'5", because those are the real deal. Those are people who are going to, put the pressure on you. And he got humbled, and that's what happened to Canelo. Like he got humbled. But I mean, did he put up a good fight? Oh yeah, definitely, he did.
Yeah.
He did. I won't take that away from him. He did. But it goes back to what I said. He bit more than what he can chew. Because I think he should have started off I wouldn't say start off on the bottom, but start off with a couple of light heavyweight fights so he could get used to the rhythm, so his body can get used to it. Instead of with this fight coming up, he had to gain weight. He had to gain weight and gain weight to make weight. Bivol, he didn't have to. He had to cut.
Yeah.
So when you cut, you feel faster. You feel, you're more conditioned. Yeah. That's why in the fight game, like my fight coming up on the 21st, my guy that I'm gonna fight, he's gonna wait. He cut weight from me, and I'm gonna cut weight. So it makes it an interesting matchup. So that's why I can say, like, okay, speed is there, we're gonna bang it out. For Canelo, he has the gain weight. He might be a little bit slower, but does he have the power and the speed a little bit? Yeah. But Bivol, he has the power. He just has to cut, and his speed is going to be unbelievable. And that's what happened. In my opinion, that's what happened. Like Canelo was not used to that, weight. So that's why I said to you, he should be, like fighting people who are light heavyweights that are not champions, so he could get used to the rhythm. Okay, this guy's a bigger guy. I gotta get used to jabbing up, punching up, or throwing a high hook or a high overhand or all that stuff. Because Canelo was not used to it. I can see in the fights, he's not used to it. He's used to people, like at his eyesight.
Yeah.
So, because Bivol was taller. He was taller. And Bivol knew, like, I'm not going to go back to your level. So, because if he does, then he's going to get in trouble. Like, oh, no. So that's when Bivol was using his speed and using his counters to beat off Canelo. And eventually it worked. It worked. And I was like, it was a scene that I would say that Canelo, like, got outschooled. Like,
yeah,
basically. By Mayweather when he fought Mayweather, but with Bivol.
Yeah, and I almost looked at it as like when people fight, Canelo, like they kind of switch up their game to fight Canelo, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Bivol
definitely.
fought his game. He did what he does to people, and that's similar to what Canelo does, like we just said. But like that's just it is what it is, He can. Just like Canelo said after, that's boxing. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. It's about how how you come back, and to like what you said, you get hit on you go put it on the ground. The part of a character of a man, of anybody really, to see how strong you are is what you do when you are on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it, like being on the ground matters because then when you're on top, it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean? It wouldn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom is meant to be there so you can understand where that feels or how that feels,
Yeah.
So when you're on top, when you're on, your champion or first place or whatever it is, when you're up on that top of the ladder,
Yeah.
that's why you go through it all, And like we said, Canelo can come back now and fight some of these younger dudes that think they deserve a shot. And you know what? Canelo should still beat them. I still think Canelo's still probably the pound for pound number one.
Yeah.
Maybe like you can throw some of the heavyweights in there or maybe some of the smaller guys, but I still don't think he'll still be the biggest draw. If anything, this might bring some more juice to his career because now people are going to want to see who's going to be the one to take over that crown, and
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Now, if I'm Canelo, I fight some of these younger dudes, get the paycheck, and see who's up
Yeah.
next. Now you're sitting in a position where people come to me now. People are I'm gonna pick and choose, not what challenge am I gonna take. Now I get to look and see, what's gonna make me a little bit more money, or what fight is a little exciting to me. Now
Mm-hmm.
he can do that, and you know what? I still think he can fight another 5 to 7 years.
Oh
On
yeah,
top.
definitely,
He can fight
definitely.
for a while still. So,
Oh yeah,
if anything, this is only gonna make Canelo better. And
yeah.
if you're a fan of the boxing game, if you're a fan of Canelo, I think you know what. All right, you gotta take it on, take it on the chops, but you'll be back and ready, come what 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to think about it, Canelo only has fought two light heavyweights, two ever in his life, ever two. I mean, compared to how many middleweights and featherweights and lightweights and all the welterweights people he fought, he's only
Yeah,
fought two. I
yeah,
mean, you got to give him credit. Like, hey, this guy took on a champion, gave him a good show. I mean, like, hey, he's gonna bounce back.
exactly.
Now with people saying like, oh, now they're gonna aim for Canelo, all that stuff because he lost and everything. I was like, it just showed that with this fight, in my opinion, it just showed that hey, Canelo can be beat. He
Mm-hmm.
can. He can. He's not like unstoppable. I mean, he can be. Don't get me wrong. And then like, he's not gonna make it easy for you. He's gonna like like hey, I'm gonna fight back. So with that being said, I mean, in my opinion, I always said this out with me, my coach and teammates. We always talk about this. I would love to see Canelo fight. I don't think Benavidez. I want him to see him fight Charlo.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see him fight Charlo. And because we were reviewing, I remember one of our technique days for boxing week. Because in Muay Thai we do boxing week because it's still boxing. So we were looking at I was looking at highlights actually myself to think of okay maybe I could throw this. It was Charlo. Charlo was throwing on combo and I was like okay maybe I'll try this today's training. See I'll tell my coach hey how it looks. It looked great. It looked pretty good. I was like, hey, the skill seemed very useful when I do sparring on my training days. I use that combo that Charlo was throwing, and like I use Canelo's technique as well. Like his uppercuts. I mean, I try to make sure my uppercuts are just as strong as his. So um, I would I would love to see Canelo fight Charlo if that can happen. But but everything's saying, Canelo always loves to say payday. I mean, you guys had a shot. You guys need to fight each other. Well, I think that too. When Canelo did say that he got interviewed, he think Charlo and Benavidez should fight each other. Then Canelo will consider the winner of those two. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it's a game where you're putting, your body on the line and you got to go after that money.
Yep.
As much as you want to fight for the fans and fight for a legacy, Canelo unified, was it the welterweight class, right? Or what was it? All the belts. He won like 8 belts, right? Whatever it was. He
He won.
unified the
I mean,
whole.
he was known for being a middleweight, in the middleweight, super middleweight. So the champion has all the belts for super middleweights.
So, first Mexican fighter to do that. I think first fighter to do that in a while. That's a
Uh-huh.
big legacy right there. Not everybody's gonna
Yeah.
be undefeated. It's one of those things where it's a LeBron effect. LeBron's so good that when he's on top, sometimes he's gonna lose, but the fact that he's continuing to be on top, continuing to be the biggest draw. You know what? It's something to leave your hat on. And you know what? I'm excited for the later half of Canelo's career and to see how that part of his legacy, because at the end of the day, he's fighting a one man shadow, and I think we all know who that one man is, and it's not Floyd Mayweather,
No.
right? There's a younger generation of Mexican boxing fans, and then there's that older generation, and still to this day, Canelo is not number one when it comes to Mexican fighters. For me, I think he is, but for most, he's
Yeah,
still number 2, and I think that's what he'll probably chase that second half of his career.
yeah, yeah. In my opinion as well too. When you say like, I mean, he is a top for me for Mexican fighters. Top. I mean, I wouldn't say he's number one for me, but I mean, because we all have different opinions. Other people say, like, oh, freaking, Marquez is number one, or freaking Chavez is number one. Chavez, they compare, the legends, or to talk about his Canelo's teammate that lost not too long ago too, Oscar and Oscar Valdez, or Andy Reese, or like any Mexican top fighters. A lot of people have different opinions about Canelo, saying, oh, he's not the best, like number one Mexican fighter, but like he has done some stuff that not other Mexican fighters have done. I mean, you
Yeah.
gotta give him credit for that. He has moved weight classes a lot. I mean, compared to like Chavez and like Oscar De La Hoya and Marquez, Canelo has moved weight classes and beaten almost everybody from the classes down. So you gotta give him credit. That's why I tell everybody, you gotta give him credit. He has done some other things that Mexican fighters that haven't done, like in the past.
People always want to compare about, Chavez is what, over 100 fights, right?
Yeah,
It's a fight game's different. You're
yeah,
not fighting 6 fights in a year, you're not fighting every other month, you're fighting 6 months apart. You're kind of circling, if you're Canelo, being the Mexican fighter, you're circling Cinco de Mayo weekend, and you're circling Mexican Independence Day. You know what I mean? Like, those are the
yeah.
2 weekends that you're gonna get paid, and you're gonna get paid a lot of money. A
Exactly,
lot of money,
exactly. Uh-huh.
So it's a different game. You can't compare the both. It's like comparing LeBron to Jordan. The
Uh-huh.
older heads are gonna be Jordan fans, and younger cats,
Mhm.
LeBron, whatever it is, it is what it is, and
Yeah,
we just got to be fans of the game and see how it goes.
exactly, man. Exactly. I mean, like it's just what my dad has taught me, because my dad's a big Canelo fan. He tells me every year the fight game evolves. The fight game evolves. It's not the same as it was before. It's not the same how Chavez fought 6 fights in a year. It's not how it was how he fought, like back-to-back fights. Not like how fighters now these days they'll fight, on this month. 3 months later they'll fight another again, and then 3 months, 2 months later they'll fight again. It's not like that nowadays,
Mm.
because due to recovery and big money fights. That's what me and my dad talked about. We live in a society now that everybody wants big money fights. Everybody wants big money fights. Everybody, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, who doesn't want big money fights? We're all fighting to get like a fat ass paycheck. But with the society, like I said, we're living. People are trying to take shortcuts. Like big money fights. Big money fights. They fight like 2, 3 fights, or like in a year, two, and then the third one they want a big fat paycheck by the end of the year. They want to fight like Canelo or Charlo or Oscar, or Tyson and Fury, or any of those big time names. They want to fight any of those. Even though they might lose, but they still get a fat paycheck. Like, hey, you got a fat paycheck. But big money fights. This is what I tell a lot of young fighters, including myself, that it's gonna come. It's gonna come. You just, what I mean, you gotta, learn the hard way. What I mean, like you just, build your way up there. I mean, like everybody starts out little, and you gotta earn it. Now that Canelo has on top of the food chain, he's earned it.
Yeah.
Like people don't understand that he hasn't got big money fights. Every fight that he had before, how much he's getting paid now, he's never had big money fights. Never, 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 never. And now that he's getting big money fights, he knows, like, okay, now I know where to get big money to fight, like Cinco de Mayo weekend or Mexican Independence Day. That's when he gets a fat check. So, I mean,
It is what it is. That's
yeah,
part of
exactly.
that. That's, like you said, like, that's part of the fight game. You got to know,
Mhm.
and you know what? Canelo's not going to fight for anything less.
Yeah,
Like like you said, he has deserving of that demanding whatever he wants. He deserves it.
yeah.
So with that being said, Canelo fans, stay tuned. He's not done. He's not over. He's not finished. He'll be
No.
back.
This is just
Maybe
an experience.
we'll see what comes around in September,
Yeah.
if he wants to fight. If not, it is what it is.
Hmm.
But, with that being said, let's talk about the other fighting event of the weekend, UFC 274. and
Oh man.
we
Oh
saw
man.
one title change with Carla Esparza winning, which was an okay fight. It's not the most entertaining fight, but
Yeah, yeah.
some of those fights, so it happens. The opponents know each other so well. You know, it's just one of those things that it happens. It's gonna happen. You're not gonna get a Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje every fight. You know what I mean? You're not gonna get a Thug Rose and what was it, Zhang Li? You're not gonna
Yeah.
get that every fight. It's one of those. That's part of the fight game as well.
Yeah.
Carla Esparza, good for her. Her comeback. Being able to become champion again. Orange
Mhm.
County repping. Irvine, California.
Yeah,
Um,
man. She's from
you know,
Cali, man.
that's a cool thing right there. Cool thing to
Yeah.
see. I'm a big Thug Rose fan, but it's
Same
cool
here.
to
I am. I love both of them. I love Carla
yeah,
Esparza and I love Doug Rose. Either if it was very hard for me to say like to be like one sided. I was like, Carla Esparza. She was the first UFC strawweight champion, and Doug Rose. she has a really outstanding career and fighting style. And like it was hard for me to say like, oh, this was gonna win. This was gonna win. But yet again, like people say, like it was a boring fight. Like it was like not really entertaining. But like I just said, these two know each other, right? They already knew like if you slip or you mess up, you're gonna lose.
yeah,
You're gonna lose because this person that's how Carla beat Rose in her first fight. She got slipped. Doug Rose got slipped and she ended up losing. I'm pretty sure maybe Doug Rose had came back with that mentality. Like okay, don't get caught, don't get slipped because it's gonna happen again. Like oh you're gonna lose. I
yeah.
will have to give credit that Doug Rose. I mean, she understand who she was, and it went to the distance. It went to the judges scoring cards and everything. But I mean, if I had to say something to Doug Rose, I mean, like, hey, at least it went to the decision. You didn't get slipped by this person. I mean,
Yeah.
you can bounce back now. You know. I mean, like, you can bounce back. Like with every trilogy fight, there's gonna be a third one. There's gonna be a third one
Mhm.
because I mean, with Doug Rose, Doug Rose lost the first one, and she lost to this one.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always gonna give the champion the benefit of the doubt. Like, hey, you could come back. Like you're gonna come back and make maybe a Carlos Esparza with Doug Rose 3. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
the storyline writes itself. Can
Mhm.
Thug Rose get her belt back? Can she beat Carla Esparza? Is that I mean that's part of the fight game. You need a storyline. Fight
Everyone's
storylines.
beatable.
It sells
Everyone's
money.
beatable. Hmm.
You gotta fill the seats up. You gotta fill viewers up. And if you're a fan of Thug Rose, that's maybe her next challenge is can she get over her, the physical hump of getting past Carla Esparza. And now if
Hmm.
you're Carla Esparza, now you're champion again. Now,
Yeah.
you could rewrite some of your history and you know, now you can try to stake claim of, I'm going to be a fighting champion and I'm going to continue to do whatever it takes. There's now you get to see some of these fights that, could be interesting. Who knows what
Yeah.
can come with her being champ again. But I think it's part of the fight game. It's always good for the fight game, a new champion or, the story, the comeback of Carla Esparza from losing it, kind of falling away, and then working her way back up, beating Thug Rose and getting her belt back. So,
Yeah.
cool thing to see.
Hmm.
It is what it is. The fight didn't turn out as many expected it, but we all said it's part of the game. Next
Yes, part
fight
of
we
the game.
want to talk about is, the knockout. Hey, Chandler is a dude. I don't
Oh,
care.
I love Chandler and I love Ferguson too. Those
Hey,
two. I mean,
love Tony. I love Tony. I was telling
yes,
my girl watching the fight where they're both walking out. I love Tony. I've always been a fan of Tony, but
yeah.
and he didn't come out bad.
No, he
I think
didn't.
he won that first round. If he didn't win, he lost it very close. But I think he won that first round, which is for Tony. That's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see him come back and
Yeah,
show that he's able to go. But fuck,
exactly,
man.
exactly. But I mean, I was saying, I was watching it with a couple of my family members. Um, they're both good. They're both good. I mean, they both can bang it out. And Tony, Tony has experience. Chandler has experience. In my opinion, that fight it was still good to me. It was still good. Like how I told you, everybody's beatable. If you get caught once or get clipped or, like, hey, done deal, man. It's gonna happen, Like I said, that's what the UFC president once said on the Ultimate Fighter show. If you get caught once, so you slip, put your guard down one time and they catch it, that's it. All it took. And that front kick that Chandler gave,
that was, man, that was.
It's rare to see that. It's a rare form to see that. And what I learned from watching that is that you can beat anybody with any hit, in the MMA world, in the UFC world. I mean, because with that front kick, like in Muay Thai, we throw front kicks like how Chandler threw that front kick. You can knock somebody out with the front kick. You can't. Anderson Silva has knocked out somebody like that with a front kick too. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it all depends. Like if you see the shot, go for it. If you caught slip once.
Such a perfect timing. Like, it was just one of those things. Like, yeah, I mean, just watching it, I think everybody was just like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't expect that from Chandler. I mean, like, cause I wouldn't expect that at all from him. What amazed me is like he took that risk. He took that, like, if you see an opening, take it. Like, it's like in football, when the linemen make the hole, you see the hole, you take it. Like, it's open. That's what Chandler, saw with Tony Ferguson. Maybe he saw his guard was down, and he's like, okay, maybe if I throw the front kick, it's boom. And he did. He took it, and as you can see, when Chandler threw that front kick, Chandler's guard was down. When he threw that kick, his hands were down. When he threw that front kick, it looked like, like, I'm gonna just, throw it and see what happens. And the outcome was like, oh crap, like,
Chandler's been a dog. People following him in Bellator, dog. When he made that transition to UFC, knocking out Hooker. Losing two good fights. I mean, people
he just lose to anybody.
He lost to Oliveira, who okay, if you're watching that fight, Chandler almost, when I say almost,
he did. He
almost won. Like he had him hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Oliveira just we'll talk about Oliveira right now, but just a different person, But and then losing to Gaethje, I mean, that was such an entertaining fight. I mean, that's maybe this last Burns fight was maybe a better fight, but I don't think so. I feel like that Gaethje Chandler fight was still the better fight. But I mean, losing two close fights like that, both of those fighters fought for the belt Saturday night.
Like I said, I tell everybody, like, people talk crap about Michael Chandler, saying like, oh, he lost 2 fights. I don't know why he's in the UFC. But then I tell him, like, he fought against people who are freaking good, not just anybody that just sucks. Not that he fought people that he sucked, he made a terrible performance. He fought people that are freaking good. Justin Gaethje is a freaking monster. Oliveira, I mean, I'm not a big fan of him, but he's pretty good. He has experience. He like they were talking about him on the UFC. He's been in the UFC for almost 20 years compared to Chandler being in the UFC for like what, maybe like a couple years. I mean, to think about it, is like, hey, Chandler fought against someone who's experienced. Like these guys do not suck. They're good.
Fought the champ and the number 1 contender. Like that's
exactly.
Just like Canelo, we were just talking about. People are overlooking. You can't just. I mean, some people do, but like when you really look at the game and understand the game and look at what's what behind it, you got to look at the details. You got to look at the context. You got to look at who they were fighting, when they were fighting. What I mean? Dude, those two people were at top of their game, top of that weight class. And you know what?
Yes.
Both, I think, for coming into that fight, Ferguson and Chandler both were in very similar positions. And winner needed both those fighters needed to win that fight.
Yes.
And I think Chandler, with that type of knockout, and then Chandler is perfect on the mic. He's everything you want in a fighter is with Chandler. Like you can't. I think he made himself a lot of money that just within that.
Definitely. And that's why I actually like that matchup because they both fought Justin Gaethje and Oliveira. They both did. They both did. So and I was more excited to Ferguson because I mean I've been following his style, his wrestling, and before, and he was on the Ultimate Fighter show and he was the winner. I've been following his career ever since he won that show, and he when he was interim champion, he was good. He was in his prime. He was in his prime. He was, he wanted to fight Khabib and all that stuff. And then Chandler, on the other hand, he was like a monster in the Bellator, and he needed, tune up his game and go to the UFC. And when people come from like a B league, go to the number one league, like an A league, like you're not gonna, like expect, like a big outcome like Khabib or like, one of the greats like Anderson Silva or anything like that. But what this fight made me realize is that, Chandler came off of a two losing streak. He lost to like the Oliveira, he lost to Gaethje. Ferguson, he was coming off a losing streak as well. But this fight, I would have to say, determined, like, okay, who's hungry to win? Who wants to win? Who wants to get back on that track? And I really thought that Ferguson was gonna, like, okay, because he was, like I said, he was winning. Yeah, he was winning, and he, like I said, he just got clipped, and then Chandler just took that risk. So like Chandler is like now on the verge, now, because like I said, when fighters get their experience, when the new fighters get their experience, they find their rhythm. They get their rhythm, like, okay, now I know, now I this, now, because Ferguson fought Justin Gaethje and Chandler. No, and Chandler fought both of them too. So he found his rhythm. Now he knows what to expect, because this is, it's a different league. Every league is different. That's why I always tell a lot of people is that you gotta find your rhythm first. Don't expect, like, to be, oh, you're gonna be at the top dog, you're gonna go to transition to this here. Like, I have a lot of teammates that at my gym, they say like, oh, I'm gonna be a top dog. I'm like, hey, well, slow down, like, you gotta calm down, you gotta build your way up. And I think that's what Chandler did. And Chandler got his experience, and now he won.
He's able to come back and climb up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And we'll move to the main event, Oliveira and Gaethje, did I expect it to go down like that? Not really. I thought Gaethje would, I don't want to say put up a better fight, because, he put up a good fight, but man, I just, watching that fight, I think Oliveira is putting himself in Khabib territory. I just think so. I think, you can't argue. He has the most submissions in UFC history. I think he's top 3 total finishes. Like, dude's underrated. I think if he spoke English, I think it'd be a very different, type of situation. And nothing against that. I love Brazilian fighters. Just like
I do too. I do.
Just like Mexican boxers. You know what I mean? It's you gotta love that spirit they bring to the game. But I really think, just watching that, just to see Oliveira, it's almost like it's like practice for him, and at that, like, in the most complimentary way, like he knows what to do, like he sees it, and it's like, to be at that level of, like, your whatever sport it is, whatever it is, it's like so routine for him to, he saw that opening and just similar to Chandler taking that opening. But for Oliveira, it just happens every fight. He almost seems like he knows when it's that time, and he just, I don't even want to say flips a switch. He just, like, turns it on. He's like, all right, I'm there. I'm taking it over.
More than 20 fights, they said. He had more than 20 fights to get a championship belt. And what made me think when they say that is that he had the most experience. He knows what to do in situations like that. That's what kind of made me underestimate him, because I really wanted Justin Gaethje to win. I really did.
Yeah, same. But, same. In his hometown, everything he's gone through, it would have been a good story.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, I mean, I with Oliveira, with people talk about like, like, oh, Jesse Gaethje is gonna win. He's a monster. This and that. On the other hand, Oliveira has been in a situation where he fought people like Justin Gaethje. He's fought, I mean, like Chandler. Chandler almost knocked out Oliveira. What difference is going to make when Justin Gaethje is going to try to knock him out? He's going to do the same thing, and Dustin Poirier. When Oliveira fought Dustin Poirier is an amazing striker. He was going at one point, he almost knocked out Oliveira too. He knocked him down. He did the same thing what Chandler did. Oliveira kept his cool, kept his mentality. Okay, it's cool. I'm gonna keep cool. It's all right. I can still make it. What happened in the second round? Choked him out. First round, Justin Gaethje, he really knew, like, okay, I know what type of fighter this is. I'm gonna choke him out.
Yeah.
He did just that, and I was just like, wow. Like, I kind of underestimated.
And he calls it out. Like if you look at the swagger he has, it's almost like when you look at the fights, and I love watching the UFC, the vlogs they do, leading up to the fight, on YouTube. He just is like, I'm champion, I work hard. I don't care what that other person does, like I'm going to work I know what that person's going to bring. Like I'm me, I'm going to do me. And he almost fights with that style as well. Like he's going to do him, and it's going to work. And, I think, leading up into this last little part, going into the future, what's to come from UFC 274. I think a lot of it is, I think that fight was this card sets up for a very big, future, right? And I think if I'm Dana White, if I'm trying to capitalize, off of these fighters, I think, you can do this right here. You can go Oliveira, and you can go Islam.
Oh man, speaking of Islam, I think he deserves a title shot. I think he deserves.
The only reason why I say that is because of two things.
Yeah,
you can do this. Oliveira beats Islam. It sets up that Khabib fight. It sets it up to where, all right, you know what I mean? Like we can see something, like it'll be there. You know what I mean? Like people are gonna automatically call for that because Islam to Khabib, that's like his little brother. You know what I mean? Like
supposedly the next Khabib. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, like it's like I wouldn't say like no one could be compared like Khabib. Khabib, which is a complete monster.
Yeah.
He was blessed to be in the UFC. He was made to be in the UFC. But don't forget, Islam has lost. He has lost. And with that being said, it's like you're comparing yourself like to someone who's the GOAT. I mean, let's not compare right now. I mean, like I said, like with Islam, I think he deserves a title shot because I mean his style is like Khabib's.
Yeah,
his style is like similar to Khabib's. It's very similar to Khabib's, and Islam likes to grapple. Oliveira likes to grapple. And
it's a very interesting fight. I mean, their fight styles, complement each other. It's going to be something that calls for a perfect fight. It calls for an interesting fight. And if you're in the money game, which Dana White is, you got to look at that. You got to say, what if I'm Oliveira? He can't fight Chandler. He can't fight Poirier. Like those happen, and if you're Oliveira, like he's not going to sell his fight, right?
No,
he's not going to sell his fight. He's not a good promoter. So you got to pair him up with somebody like Islam because that's what the fight community wants to see. They want to see Islam and
like Chimaev. Everyone wants to see Chimaev be on the uprising of welterweights.
Yeah,
and like I said, I think maybe in my opinion, I think Islam needs to fight someone who's top 5 first. Just like Chimaev has fought someone who was top 5.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a real test for a lot of uprising fighters. Because now these days, uprising fighters now they want to fight the champ. Like they want to be, they want to be famous like that. It doesn't work like that. So with Islam, I think do I think he's the title worthy? Yeah. But I mean, does he deserve to fight Oliveira now? I would have to say maybe if he fights someone who's top 5, like maybe even top 3, then we can talk about him versus Oliveira.
I just think it's, you don't want to. I think Oliveira would be the fighter to pull Khabib out. I don't think, as much as Conor, that history's there, I think Khabib respects Oliveira, and I think that's what would bring Khabib out, would be more of a respect other than people calling him out. You know what I mean? Like if Conor wins a fight next, he's gonna, venture. It could lead to a Khabib call out. Khabib. What would Khabib get out of it? You know what I mean? Maybe another a massive payday. But I think Khabib wants to. I think Khabib cares more about his legacy. Cares more about.
I was about to say that right now, because right now he has a league of his own. He made his league of his own, and then people don't know about. He made it like a little Bellator league, for like a Russian league. It's a Russian league. Yeah. But I mean, the question is, if Khabib was to come back, that's like $1 million question. That's like $1 million. Would he come back? Islam has said. I mean, Islam will say if Khabib was to come back, he wouldn't be at 155. That's for sure, because he's probably like at 170 by now.
Yeah.
Like with Usman and all that stuff. But like I said, Khabib has a legacy that. I mean, he already built his legacy in the UFC. Now he's on to bigger and better things. Like maybe the next Dana White, but more better, because he has his own promotion now.
Yeah. It's something, I think Oliveira's in a good spot. I think, whatever fight he fights next will be for the belt, because they're going to try to fight it.
Yeah. Missing weight, man. Missing weight.
It's tough, because in other states, they give him that half pound clearance,
Yeah.
But in Arizona, they don't. So, I mean, there's no excuse. I mean,
it really no excuse, man. But this is what this is what a lot of fighters don't understand, including myself. I mean, or speaking of all athletes, making weight, I would have to say that's probably the most challenging thing any athlete will go through, is making weight, because making weight messes with you emotionally, physically, and mentally. It actually does. I mean, like being in the sauna or wearing a sauna suit for just to make weight, just to even cut off just 5 pounds. It's hell. It's hell. And not everybody, I would say, is used to that. And that's why I tell everyone's like, oh, he's a piece of shit for missing weight. I was like, hey, making weight is hard. You try to make weight, it's not easy. It's really hard just to try to drop maybe 15 pounds in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's tough. A lot of fighters in the UFC do that. Like Justin Gaethje said he dropped to 155 and he got back up to 165 because he had a cut really big. But it's all part of the game. You're gonna maybe be a little bit over. You might be a little under. But I mean, it happens. But I mean, Oliveira made a statement that day, even though he may miss weight. He beat Justin Gaethje still, the number 1 or number 2 ranked lightweight in the world. He still beat him. Yeah. And even though the title is now vacant,
he's champ still. He's gonna be fighting. He's champ still. As much as he doesn't have the belt, but he's champ. And he's gonna be whatever fight is for the belt next. He will be in it. So I mean, he's champ.
Yeah, that's why I said I think I underestimated him a little bit, because I really want to get you to win. But I mean, like I said, he had over 20 fights in the UFC, and he really knew what kind of fighter Justin Gaethje was already, because he's been through it. And not only that, I mean, Charles Oliveira has lost a couple fights, so he knows how to lose. He knows how to be in a situation like, he might lose. So like I said, I think I just underestimated Charles. I mean, with this fight, him winning, I would love to see I mean, he already beat Dustin Poirier, he already beat Chandler, he already beat Ferguson.
I think the fight for Chandler, I know he called out Conor. Yeah, but I don't think Conor's dropping. I think it's gonna be Conor, and I really feel like it's gonna be Usman. I think Conor's first fight will be Usman. And it's just because Dana needs Usman. If Usman wins, right? Yeah. He needs him to be that next star. And the way you do that is by putting him with Conor. And if Conor wins, you're rolling. You know what I mean? Because that sets up a Conor and Kobe fight. That sets up a Connor and a Mazda ball fight. You know what I mean? There's so many routes you can go. And I think that's Connor's, up in weight right now. And I think that's you can build a star if Usman wins. Just like how Poirier got his name again, kind of got bigger when what happened with Mayweather with McGregor. That's gonna happen. McGregor's gonna come out, talk his shit, and that gonna be there. And McGregor is the champion of, he can take advantage of split seconds and make the most of it. So I mean, I think that's the next fight. Or you look at I know Diaz called out Connor again, asking for a July 29th fight at 170. If I'm Connor, maybe that first fight back at 170, you fight somebody you kind of will be a money fight. That Diaz and McGregor fight that would sell. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think absolutely. Absolutely. The legacy those two guys had, it was a big legacy.
Oh yeah, and it'll come back. And if they agree to it, it's coming back. I mean, you'll see within some F bombs dropped and some mother effers, this and that. You'll see it all, and it's money. At the end of the day, it's money. And maybe it's not in July. Maybe it's not in July. Maybe it's this August, September. But it will. I mean, that fight can happen. It'll sell out. It'll be a main event, and you know what I mean. That's that. I think somebody perfect for Chandler, and I think for him, I don't think he fights for the belt next. I do think he'll fight somebody like Poirier.
I would have to say Poirier or I mean, I really want to see that matchup, Conor versus Chandler. I really do, but I mean, with the thing is that with Usman, for him fighting Usman, I would think, the uprising star Chimaev, Hamzat Chimaev, he's on the rise. He beat number two UFC, and I mean, I don't think he's ready for Usman yet. Usman's not, or Kobe contender. I think if
Usman's kind of in a spot where there's nobody to fight him yet. So you could throw in Conor, and it's like, Usman could knock out Conor, but it's only gonna help Usman like grow, because you could put Usman against some scrub or somebody that's maybe not a household name. I know what's his face is trying to call him out. I can't think of it. Leon Edwards.
Yeah, Leon Edwards.
I know he's trying to call him out, but if I'm Usman, do I fight Leon Edwards or do I fight Conor McGregor, make about $5 million more, and be on ESPN, be on everything? You know what I mean? Like, those are the type of decisions that those fighters have to make. And you know what? Like, if I'm Conor, what's a perfect way to come back? You know what I mean? At a new weight, you're fighting the top dog in that division. And you know what? If you win, you're champ, and you're calling, you know what I mean? And you're in a division that's exciting. You're in a division that got people that want to fight you. A Kobe Covington versus Conor McGregor fight would be off the charts.
Definitely.
A Jorge Masvidal Conor McGregor fight would be off the charts. You know what I mean? All those fights like can happen. Or like you said, Khabib comes back at 170. Conor McGregor, Khabib, like that could happen, So like I think that's the route. And I think Chandler will fight somebody like Poirier, and the winner, gets the next shot at Oliveira. You know what I mean? And nothing to hang your hat on, but that's something that you just have to do. And I think Chandler will become somebody people will know now, and somebody that will be exciting. And he'll sell that next fight, and you give him somebody like Poirier, who also is a household name. You know what I mean?
Poirier he's a veteran.
Those two could put him on a co-main event of you could put him the co-main event of Oliveira versus Islam, and that'd be the perfect co-main event. You know what I mean? So with that being said, there's a lot going forward in the UFC, and you know what? I think it's time to wrap this up. Just for, we we talked a lot about boxing, UFC, Muay Thai,
everything, man.
everything.
I mean. Also, there's stories, rumors, man. Usman wants to fight Canelo, man. I was like, oh, I think Usman needs to sit down. You need to sit down.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
You're
no,
trying to bit off more than you can chew.
I'm sorry. It's I don't think a champ should be fighting another champ
In a different division, a different league. It's gonna be unfair. It's gonna be a total slaughter. I mean, that's why.
It's interesting when you see a Tyron Woodley, who's kind of a former champ, one of considered a good UFC fighter, fighting a Jake Paul, somebody who's a decent boxer. That's interesting. That to me, because you put him against Canelo, you're expecting Canelo to knock him out. You're expecting Canelo to win. But it is what it is, and that's the thing about the fight game. So much can happen, and you gotta love it.
Yep. I mean, you said it more. I mean, that's all I gotta give, man. I mean, I think it's just that's everything. I mean, we talk about everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, so I got two final questions, and we're wrapping it up. One of the last questions for you is, who or what is your why?
Who, what, and why? So I have two who's. So my number one who is my son. I have a little 4-year-old boy. He's gonna turn 5 in September. He motivates me to do better, especially with the sport that I'm doing now. Like he knows that it's a hard sport, it's tough, and I am a young father as well, and so I gotta push myself to be better than who I was like before and all of that. And also my mom, I would have to say is also my who too, because my mom is probably one of the hardest workers I have ever known in my life. She takes care of me, not just only me, but my son. Like she's like my biggest support with me being like a single parent and helping my son and all that stuff. And my what is, I would say, what drives me more to do what I do now is them, my family. My mom and my dad and my two sisters and my baby brother, my son is what I do for what I do now.
Yeah.
And why do I do it? I do it because I love it. I mean, like, you gotta find your passion. If you don't do it, because like now I tell these people, like young people, if you're gonna find something to do what you want to do, don't do it because you're gonna make money. Don't do it because you're gonna get that paycheck. Do it because you love it. And I love everything that I do with the sport that I do and the things I do, with my son, my mom, and all that stuff. I do it with love, and then it will take you far if you do it with the mentality that you love it. The money and success, it's gonna come, but do it because you love it. That's why I do it now. It's because I love it, and I love showing that my mom and my son that I can do it. I can make it, and I could I do what I do. This is who I am. And I love it. And my mom is is the main reason why I do it. Like I could do it, mom. Our lives are gonna change forever soon. That's my why.
That's inspirational, and those are words to live by. And those, they'll be proud of you. You know what I mean? Like you said, one day you'll be a champion, and all this will pay off, and all this will make sense. All the struggle, all everything. You know what I mean? Like, it'll pay off one day, man. And
Yeah, man.
you just gotta stay with it, stick with it, ups and downs, peaks and valleys, you got to stay even keel throughout. And like you said, your opportunity will come. And once that opportunity comes, you got to take advantage of it to the fullest. And you know what? I mean, from what I know of you, man, you will. So final question of the day, I ask everybody this is, who do you want to see on the Center Lock show? See, but the trick part is you got to help me get that person on the show.
Oh man, I have a couple people that I wanna be in the Center Lock show. One of the cool people I have met, I would say him is the the owner of the league that I fought in October, Ray. I would love for him to be in the Center Lock show. Coming from his background and what his mindset is and what he wanted to build as a young guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm gonna give that guy a shout out, man. I mean, that guy, he had a mindset, he had an inspiration in his head, and he just went for it. That guy lives life like to the fullest, and I mean, that guy is just like really inspirational for the young community. Because I mean, he, like from what he has done, like in the league and he's built and everything. I mean, like, hey, it's not often do you see a guy with that mentality that young build like what kind of like Dana White or Khabib is building. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
That's somebody I want to hear from in the Center Lock.
I'm in constant talks with Ray all the time about music, entertainment, the fight game, just whatever. And I 100% agree with you, man. I love to have Ray on the show, and we'll definitely cook that up coming up pretty soon. But yeah, man, shout out to Ray, man. He's gonna be, something in life, and that's somebody you need. Those people, those that are just so motivational that because everybody wants to do the hashtag blessed or hashtag this and that. You to really meet people that really can motivate you, that you don't see that a lot. And that's something with Ray. Like, man, he gets up and just has a positive mindset. He gets up and everything he goes through, everything he's trying to do, there's a lot of negativity in life. And just like anybody, we're all going through stuff, and to kind of have that outlook, definitely I could speak for myself. It motivates me to keep, just be like, all right, my little bro right there, man. I mean, that's the homie. We're gonna, keep pushing it. And, definitely we collabed on some stuff, and we want to collab on some more things. And, we'll definitely have him on the Center Lock show. And you know what? Hey, Miguel, man, it was great talking to you. It was great catching up. It was
awesome, man. Look good catching up with you. I mean,
both
represent Buena Park.
Hey, it's always, I mean, that's always a thing for me. I got to put on for my city. We're with the, you're from Orange County as well. It's that 714. It's a thing we've been using 714 made. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, whatever field you're in, you got to know that you got a county behind you. You got a bunch of people supporting you and that are willing to go check out your stuff, repost, like all that stuff means a lot, and like I'll continue to say it each and every week or each and every podcast, like, you got a following. And once you get that stamp of being a 714 made, I know LA County got it, the IE got their own thing, but it's just one of those things. Juice County, like we all represent Orange County from South County to North. Like we're all part of the same team. And you know what I mean, Buena Park, us, being that as well. There's something you got to stand up for. You got your family, you got your friends, your circle, but you need to be supported. You need to be supporting. Need to be supported by a community, because at the end of the day, it takes a village to raise somebody. It takes a village to prop somebody up. And at the end of the day, bro, man, I know you're not in the big fights yet, you know what I mean? But
hey, give me time, man. Give me time.
At these at your beginning, bro, you got the city behind you, you got the county behind you. And so when you get to those big fights, you know what it is already, So
yeah, man.
And with that being said, my boy, man, it was great again talking to you, great catching up. Best of luck.
Thanks, Mark.
May 21st. We're gonna let me know more details. We'll be posting it up on my Instagram, man. Giving everybody who's tuned in, following it. Make sure you follow Miguel on IG. My boy's posting. So, like, if you're a fan of the fight game, make sure you're following Miguel right now. He's gonna be somebody on the up and comer. He's gonna be doing his thing. And you know what? Stay, man, locked in with the Center Lock show. Stay locked in with Sideline Sports. We're growing. We're just, it's a movement. People are getting connected. You're seeing different types of podcasts, different types of episodes. We got something coming for you later on in the week, something a first, but you know what I mean? we got this episode with Miguel. I just want to thank you again, Miguel. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that. Share it, man. We appreciate all the love as always. And you know what?
Thanks, man. It was an honor. It was an honor.
Hey, man, I thank you again. And we'll be back next week with another episode of the Center Lock Show.
All right.
We're out.
Bueno Park is in the building. Bueno Park? What's the deal? Nothing but the homies out there. Nothing but the homies. What's up with the homies?
Who poppin'? We poppin'.